Now, listen here. The sun is where we're going to shine. It is where we are the most equipped to shine. And because of that, sometimes we can constantly seek out that validation in that area of our lives, right? And that's not always bad, right? Because the sun can kind of be that indicator of like, where if you're feeling down, you're feeling not confident, you're feeling that you don't have anything that is special about you. When you really focus on the house that your sun placement is in, that can be important to really understand it fully. However, because of that, we are likely going to perform in ways that get us rewards, right? If we are rewarded for a certain behavior, rewarded for a certain trait, even if that's not what we really feel we are, that's what we're going to continue to do. So that's the way I want to look at this video, as, you know, the role in your family based on your sign is going to be dependent on what you fulfill and what traits you're the most confident or that you get the most praise for, okay? The role that you play within your family is largely based on a combination of things. It can be based on the order of your birth. It could be based on, you know, how you were perceived growing up, what role you automatically took on. Like, there's so many different ways to really, you know, have that experience, right? But what I would say is the sun can definitely play that role in terms of us understanding more about who you play, like what role you play within your own family. Aries sometimes can feel like they have to do a lot for their family if they are family oriented, okay? Especially if you have a person with Sun and Aries in the fourth house, there is this initiative they need to take. You know, they have to be there for so-and-so. They need to drive so-and-so to the hospital. They have to, right? So that is often how Aries experiences this desire to take care of their family. But remember, it's Aries, right, self. And so an Aries who is family oriented is going to sometimes take on a lot, take initiative, be the one, even if something is not really their responsibility to do, and just kind of, it can be invested a lot in things that are not aligned to them. And if you take a person too far out of their element, that is where unhappiness can seep in. Like, if you have an Aries person who's doing all this for their family to make sure they're successful, but the Aries person is ignoring their own need for independence, that is where you can get a person who feels torn. They feel like they have, you know, obligations in different areas. So you can sometimes see that. But Taurus, okay, Taurus sun, so you can feel like you're sought out a lot for your resources, that people feel like you always have a lot. Or if you're like, oh, you're the rich aunt, oh, ask, you know, Aunt so-and-so, she's got the money for you. Or someone like is benefiting off of your resources or what you have, right? Whole dynamic of, I have to take care of these people because I have these resources. I have these, you know, opportunities. So Taurus sometimes feels financial obligation to their family. They give a lot. They have to do a lot for their family members. They are making sure their family members have the resources or their necessities met. Gemini's pressure through the family can be feeling like people always think you're there for them to, you know, a shoulder to cry on, that you're always there to listen to them, that you are always going to be someone willing to engage with them. You know, it could be the person who calls you up and it's like, hey, you know, I have to go to work, right? And they're still trying to talk your ear off, right? Because Gemini often has that ability to entertain conversations. Gemini has the ability, or the patience, might I say, to entertain small talk, right? And because of that, sometimes people can assume that you are available. People can take a lot of your mental energy talking through something. Think about the family member who keeps going back to a bad relationship and they keep calling you up to talk about it. And they think you have the bandwidth to deal with that conversation, right? That's just an example of what that can be like. So with Gemini, your role is like always feeling like you have to somehow be the mental strength for other people, or feeling like you always have to be the soundboard. And sometimes you, especially depending on other areas of your chart, you can feel rather depleted, or you may feel like you don't have that same from them in return, right? Like they call you up because they think that you can handle all of these things that they're telling you, but when you want someone to talk to, they're not there, or they don't think your problems are as important. So sometimes you end up playing that role within the family. Or if you are the one who seems, you know, Gemini doesn't really have that doom and gloom energy to them. You know, if you have Gemini in a certain house, if you have house placements that show more of a detached energy, perhaps, but for the most part, there can also be this assumption that you don't have to check in with the Gemini person as much, that they kind of can handle a lot of different things, that they're mentally strong, right? And again, that can sometimes not be true because, as I've said before, mutable moons, mutable suns, if you have a mutable moon, mutable sun, you can struggle sometimes with balance. And so I would say, check in on your Gemini, relative, because also Gemini doesn't always in touch with its own feelings. The people are not always in touch with what they really feel. You're so used to dealing with information and concepts and ideas that sometimes Gemini does need to take a step back and really, take inventory of their own emotional well-being. Cancer may feel a pressure to keep the family going, to sustain everyone's emotional state. So with Gemini, it's the mental state. With Cancer, it could be keep everyone going, bring everyone together, be that nurturing person, be that caring person. Oh, so-and-so, let's send them this, let's send them that. Let's go visit Aunt so-and-so because she's been down. Like Cancer sometimes feels this need because Cancer, is the one reminding people a lot about the importance of family bonds, And so because of that, there can be a lot of burden in terms of having to be the person that really is always bringing people together. And sometimes that can be a bit a burden because you sometimes may want experiences where you don't have to always be so emotionally invested in what everyone else is doing. In general, Cancer energy likes to be someone that's there, someone that is consistent. They will sometimes drop what they're doing if they care about someone. There is a need, though, for Cancer to feel that they're getting that in return. So when you do have a Cancer person that has stopped, I've said this in another video, they've stopped doing what they used to do in terms of they've stopped being, they've stopped confiding in you. They have stopped, looking out for you. They have stopped, coming over to your house every Saturday or every Thanksgiving. That means that there's some type of emotional bond that has been broken, or they are avoiding you for a very specific reason. If a Cancer is avoiding you, there is a reason for it. There's typically a reason. There's a deep-seated reason sometimes. And so that's just something just to keep in mind in terms of your role. It can feel like you are kind of in charge of a family being together or people maintaining relationships. But you also sometimes have to step back. Are you trying to force two people to have a relationship in the family that just don't get along, that just don't need you in the middle, right? And so sometimes Cancer energy can be a little bit it's a cardinal energy. It can be a little bit overbearing, especially if this is like a parental figure or an elder in the family. There's this kind of overbearing nature in terms of what's expected of family. And so sometimes you do have to allow people to form their own relationships and, develop in that way without you. Now, Leo, a lot of times you're expected to keep everybody laughing. You're expected to keep everybody happy. You're the life of the party. The party may not start until you get there and you're cracking your jokes. You're making everybody smile, things like that. Leo is typically, in many ways, they're a good time. They're good to have around. The ones especially who are very positive, they make you feel good, even if you're feeling down. Cheer up, cousin, cheer up. Sounds, like they're good. But I've said this before about Leo. Whereas Leo energy has this pride, and the pride makes it hard for them to sometimes express disappointment, upset on a deeper level. And so within the family, if you are the comedic relief, if you are the party, if you are the good time, if you are the person coming with gifts and you're bringing this and that, but there might be times where you need more emotional support from your family. And I do think it's important when we have certain roles, we sometimes have to analyze what we actually need, especially as you get older, right? It's okay in earlier stages in our lives to be a certain way, but as we get older and we understand our needs better, you sometimes have to communicate that. And sometimes Leo struggles to fully communicate when they're depressed and they're sad, when they feel disappointed. And what ends up happening is that's when you get people, oh, you're being selfish, oh, you're only thinking about yourself. Yes, some people can be selfish. Some Leo energy does have more of that selfishness to it. This me, I'm important. But sometimes people view you a way because they're so used to you being a different way. And when you react differently, they cast these adjectives to you when really you're just trying to get your needs met. But because people are so used to you being the life of the party, it makes them uncomfortable that the Leo relative is coming to the event and they're sulking or they're sad, they're not getting up and dancing, right? And people are like, what's wrong with them? Whereas someone else is allowed to be that way, right? So I think it's also important for us to understand people's ranges and understand people on multiple levels. Virgos are usually, called on to do service, to do things that are, to help out, to do, and sometimes Virgo isn't as self-sacrificing as Pisces energy. But Virgo ends up having to deal with situations that require them to, okay, I'll do this for you. I'll take this on. Sure, I'll organize all your financial, your bills. Fine, I'll do this. I'll go through this. I'll organize this. I'll get this ready for you. I'll get this together for you. So Virgo sometimes ends up playing the role of the person that's kind of like doing a lot of the tasks. Virgo sometimes ends up doing a lot of the things behind the scenes. You might have a situation where you're like, oh wow, so-and-so just passed away. I had no idea that so-and-so was the one sending money all those years to that relative, or the Virgo was the one doing all of these things behind the scenes. And because of that, I think sometimes Virgo, because there's not a lot of acknowledgement, some Virgo people can feel sometimes very unappreciated or not acknowledged. And it's not a sign that's going to share that and say that out loud. And so sometimes there can be the internalization. Virgo can feel overwhelmed, overburdened, but because of this duty and this need to get something done and the need to be useful, Virgo sometimes ends up doing things just because they feel it's a part of their role and what they're supposed to do. And because of that, Virgo kind of sets into that kind of monotony, that kind of role. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to do in this family. This is my function. And sometimes I think Virgo has to kind of come out of that. A lot of times it's this comfortability of keeping the distance emotionally just to fulfill a role where you feel like you're useful. But sometimes I think it ends up with Virgo not truly creating those emotional bonds that they want with certain people because they're so used to being like, okay, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to buy a present for your birthday. I'm supposed to go here. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to show up here. I'm supposed to show up here and bring this to the family event. I'm supposed to do this for you because this is what we have. Virgo is a sign that is really good at compartmentalizing things, right? They really good. And so if they feel like they're serving a use and a function, sometimes that's where Virgo's like, okay, that's what I'm here to do. But if you are lacking the feeling of actual emotional support, or you're not feeling that you are validated or that you are valued, that is where I think Virgo sometimes has to step outside of that and, do things that aren't part of your role. Do things that aren't this task, this checkbox. Do things that are more emotionally invoking to other people, and then they're going to see that you care. Libra's role, I think it should come as no surprise. Libra is often tasked with being a peacemaker. Libra is often the one who gets along with everybody. They don't really have, okay, you don't like this relative, they like their relative, they're fine with everybody. And sometimes they're that bridge, right? Libra, you can sometimes end up being, you ever played that game, Whisper Down the Lane? You're whispering to one person and then they whisper to the other person or whatever. Like, that's kind of what Libra sometimes becomes, is that bridge, communication, partnership, whatever, to other people within the family. And so sometimes people hear about things happening through you, not in a way in which it's kind of gossipy. Sometimes that could be more of the Gemini experience, but with Libra, it is more so you kind of sometimes are the link between people. You are the one who wants to see the best side of everybody. You are the one who wants to get along typically with everybody in the family. You don't like the disruption of peace. And so that doesn't mean a lack of Libra's ability to understand what happened or what someone has done, but it does sometimes mean Libra is not going to take things as seriously as some other signs may. Now, if they have Libra and Scorpio on the chart, that's different. You could sometimes have like a passive aggressiveness in terms of a grudge or something like that. But typically Libra just wants to hold the peace, keep the peace, and move on. And sometimes with Libra, I think you can sometimes still get involved in drama with people because of that inability to pick sides. And sometimes it's not appropriate to pick sides, but there are going to be times where some things are just directly wrong or right. And I think over time, Libra learns to choose its sides more accurately. Libra starts to learn a little bit more when they want to be in the middle versus no, I'm going to stand up for this person in my family because this is wrong. I think Libra, especially a person with Mercury in Libra, has a really good way with words. And so it's not a confrontational type of energy. But at the end of the day, sometimes Libra does fulfill that kind of bridging role, which can be good because sometimes, that's the only way what's happening with someone else in your family is that Libra person who kind of keeps those relationships going and that ability to relate. But it also sometimes can pull Libra in multiple directions. And you can sometimes, as a Libra, people are not going to like you, even if you try to keep the peace, right? Because they're still going to view it as, why are you taking their side? You shouldn't like them because I don't. And so that can cause some tension. Okay, so Scorpio, you may feel like you are constantly called on to fix everything. And not in the same way Virgo. Virgo's going to fix things in a way in which it is, okay, solutions and problem solving. With Scorpio, it is drama, chaos. So-and-so doesn't have a place to live. Can you take them in? Such and such just had a medical emergency. Can you do this? And I don't want to say it's always that extreme, but I think with Scorpio, there's sometimes this resiliency or strength that people view of you. And sometimes your role becomes kind of this low-key savior type of energy where people come to you in their darkest times. People come to you in the most extreme situations or cases. But sometimes that can be because sometimes with Scorpio, there again, like I said, Scorpio, you in or you out. You're in or you're out. And Scorpio kind of makes those decisions, the distinctions between who they are going to care about. It's not Cancer. It's not Pisces. Scorpio has more of this wall. And if you're, on this side of the wall with them, great. If you're on the outside, there's a difficulty with sometimes doing those sacrificial types of things. So with Scorpio, sometimes your role, sometimes you can have a Scorpio who feels a certain way because it's like, well, why do you only call on me when there's something negative or bad happening? But it can be because sometimes people don't always feel they can. I think Scorpio, from what I've seen, Scorpio is relatively consistent. Whatever you think the Scorpio is going to do is typically what they're going to do. Unless you're Scorpio with an Aquarius moon or Aquarius rising or something. But like typically you already know what their response is going to be to situations. But sometimes that means that for people who haven't developed that relationship with Scorpio, you can't kind of ask them for small little favors or small things that you want them to do. It's not Virgo. Virgo feels useful doing little small things. If it's within Virgo's realm to do it, they're going to maybe be happy to do it, right? Because Virgo doesn't always want to get into that extreme stuff, right? Virgo is more helpful, sign of help, a sign of service, those types of things. So with Scorpio, sometimes it can feel like, maybe they don't care about me, but it's sometimes that Scorpio, if you're not within that wall, if you're not within with them, there's sometimes a struggle your family members may have with asking you for help or asking you for certain things. And similar to what I said about the other signs of opening up, let's say that about Leo and Virgo. With Scorpio, it's sometimes about showing that other side of yourself, that softer side, especially because you have it, and especially because it's a water sign, right? Let's be honest, it's a water sign. Now, it's not soft water sign, but there's a soft energy there because we are dealing with the emotional self. And soft not to be confused with something negative, right? Soft, opposite of hard, right? It's lessening the extremes. It is melting down those barriers. So it can be good sometimes to show that to other people. And then they're going to start to invest in you equally. Sagittarius. Sagittarius feels like they can handle everything. They can handle everything, okay? So unlike Scorpio that may only get hit up for certain things, Sagittarius, you're going to get hit up for almost everything in your family because people think you can handle it all. Sagittarius, you're ruled by Jupiter, expansion. You might have a big heart, maybe a big wallet, some of you, or you think you do, right? You want to give to everybody, your friends, your family, your nieces, your cousins, everything. And so Sagittarius, the family-oriented Sagittarius person, you feel like you're giving a lot of yourself, and that actually makes you happy. It's almost like when Sagittarius has a lot or has what they need, you're going to have it too, because there's a natural need to give and multiply, and that generosity, which we know is a byproduct of being ruled by Jupiter. But sometimes, again, as I've kind of started to hint at, the issue can be you're doing too much. You're doing too much, and you're going to run out of steam, and you don't want to give so much that you don't have anything left for yourself, which can happen a lot of times with Sagittarius. You get depleted. You had a great job. You spent all this money spoiling all these people in your family. You paid for this person to go to college. You paid for this person to do this. And now money's kind of coming a little bit slower for you. You didn't save anything. And now, you feel used. You feel depleted. Sagittarius feels used. That's where you can get the petty Sagittarius person. They're going to tell your truth, right? Like, and so I'm half joking here, but Sagittarius, like, anytime we feel used, depleted, there can be the shadow side of ourselves coming out. So with Sagittarius, I think it's also about balance and knowing what you cannot do and knowing what you can do, and knowing that people who really care about you are not going to fault you if you are not able to do as much as you used to be, or that you have to look out for yourself. Capricorn, we know, can be a very traditional sign. Typically the Capricorns in the family are the ones kind of holding some things up, kind of like what I said with Cancer more emotionally. Capricorn is more through structure. Capricorn is more through, yep, so I had to make sure that, you know, I'm the one that organized for my Nana to go to the nursing home. Like, right, that's what someone who's a Capricorn may say. I'm the one who pays my stepkids tuition. I'm the one who does this. I'm the one who makes sure that, you know, this happens and my kids have a trust fund. I'm the one that makes sure that so-and-so has, you know, housing, even though they live far away and they're struggling financially. Like, Capricorn feels the need to see that people in their family have certain things that require them to feel like these people are safe, or these people have the right, you know, they're taken care of. They are not left on their own. Now, what can happen sometimes with Capricorn doing that is this, again, to the extreme. If I'm doing all these things for you and I'm making sure you have all the things that you need to be kind of successful in life, there sometimes can be a drawback from feeling the emotional connection. Now, especially let's say you have a Sun in Capricorn person and you have a family member who's a Pisces moon, or, you know, Pisces or something like that. Well, they sextile, which actually means Capricorn and Pisces work well in terms of seeing the big picture, but Pisces is still going to need that reassurance. There's a sensitivity there. And sometimes Capricorn relies so much on the physical representation of success. My family is successful. Oh no, we can't look like this. We can't look like we're broke. Nope, I'm going to make sure you have what you need. Okay, nope, I can't have my family member out there, no place to live, looking strung out. You know, I'm going to take care of this, right? So, but sometimes Capricorn's gifts come with catches, right? Saturnian, disciplinarian. I will help pay for this, but you have to do this, this, and that. I will set you up a trust fund, but you have to do this, this, and that. So Capricorn sometimes, especially the ones who become successful, can be those ones that kind of provide or take care of the family in some way, but there's usually stipulations. But that's also because of Capricorn's deep need to preserve their reputation, their deep need to also control the things that they have worked for. And so if you're taking what they worked for, they're giving it to you, there's an expectation that you're going to preserve that. So with Capricorn, I'm not saying all Capricorns are like that, but there is this kind of catch. Like, I looked out for you, you need to look out for me by doing this, this, and that. And people don't always feel like their emotional needs are met with Capricorn energy, because Capricorn is focused on structure. I did what I was supposed to do. I followed through. Isn't that enough for you? But people who need more emotional confirmation, it may not always be enough for them. Aquarius. So with the Aquarius person in the family, there tends to be this, they're the ones who sometimes look out for the people in the family who don't follow certain expectations or rules, right? This could be the person, the aunt, the uncle, you know, maybe it's even your parent, where they kind of go against someone in some way. But a thing I think about Aquarius individuals that sometimes can be beneficial is their ability to, you know, allow people to kind of be who they are. Now, the thing about Aquarius, though, is they'll let you be who you are. It doesn't always mean that they're going to emotionally or in personality relate to that. So now, if you have Aquarius people in your family and they're not like that, and you're like, no, they judged me, they made me feel weird about who I was, that is typically going to be other placements in their chart, right? But in general with Aquarius, you're dealing with someone who is going to usually connect with people in the family who seem like they're the outcasts, or people in the family who seem different in some way. Aquarius, that's kind of their soft spot. If you think Aquarius has a soft spot, it is for people who are different, who don't fit the norm, who don't fit this cookie cutter type of expectation. And so within the family, Aquarius kind of plays this rogue role sometimes. Sometimes you don't quite fit in, but sometimes you are the one who people in the family, especially younger generations, might gravitate more to, because you are the one who seems more accepting, especially when we're talking about different generations and just the different ways in which generations express themselves and the different types of movements and things that happen over time. So Aquarius sometimes among the family is more of they're going to do it their way. right? They might even be successful, but they're going to do it their own way. They don't follow this kind of expectation of what you think a person should be, a parent, a brother or sister, or whatever. The pitfall of that can be not like being too, how do I say this? There, just like people can be judged for being different, there can be people who are so different, they want the person who's just normal, low key, to be different too. You can have the inverse, where some Aquarius people like have this, remember, the opposite sign is Leo, it is what it is, and like this kind of like this battle against conformity, this battle against being normal, right? Like, well, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you just be different? Like, why are you doing it like everybody else? But some people like doing things like everybody else. Some people like being some people like conforming to some way. Some people like normalcy. Some people are like, no, I just want to be average. I don't need to like do all these extra things. And so I do sometimes think Aquarius, especially the sarcastic ones, can sometimes have that kind of contentious relationship with people where they're like, oh yeah, my sister, she's just like everybody else. She does all these things. She thinks she's perfect, right? You can have those kind of like contentious relationships with people when Aquarius wants to look at someone and kind of look down on them a little bit because they're not unique enough, they're not interesting enough, they're not, right? Like, oh, everybody in my family does this like this and I'm different because I'm like this. That's extreme, but you do have that. I tend to tell the truth about astrology, and I'm not saying everyone is like this. I tell you all the possibilities so that you can make the decision for yourself about what a person is. Pisces. So with Pisces energy, again, what we're dealing with, this is a sensitive energy, and this energy, again, similar to, I talked about the water signs and about the feelings, but with Pisces, the feelings are around this need to feel like you are like confirmed. Pisces, Neptune, imagination, highly sensitive energy. Meaning sometimes Pisces, like Aquarius can feel different. Pisces feels kind of like it's out of body experience. Pisces doesn't want to get involved in the drama. Pisces might even be completely out of touch. They don't even know what's happening among the family because they don't care. Not because they don't care about you. There's not a catch with Pisces. Now, Pisces is not necessarily going to play the role of the person you can count on the most for tangibles. Now, again, I'm not doing a chart reading for you right now or your parent or whoever. If you're like, wait, my Pisces mom, she did everything for me. She bought everything. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your mom. I'm talking about, in general, Pisces gives you more of that universal love type of energy. It's like you might have the relative that everybody else doesn't talk to. The relative, you know, has been dealing with some addictions or dealing with something heavy, dealing with something, and everybody's like, nah, that person did this to me, it stole from me, and da-da-da. Pisces is going to be more of that welcoming energy. Now, do you have Pisces that hold a grudge? Yes. If you have a Pisces person with a Scorpio moon or a Capricorn moon in particular, they can hold a grudge. Right, so we're not going to say every Pisces is like getting enchanting and in love and peace. That's not all Pisces people. But in general with Pisces, your role is always going to be somewhat of a person that is non-judgmental, a person who is kind of safe, a person who is, you know, you allow people to be what they want to be without this kind of limitations on them. And the difference between Aquarius and Pisces with that is that Aquarius energy is more of that rebellious nature. Whereas with Pisces, it's I'm accepting anyone no matter what. I think with Pisces, you want to be careful because you can certainly have people that take advantage of you. You can certainly have people that think you're so nice, they can get away with everything. And that's when you end up with situations like the nice old grandpa or grandma, and you got the grandchildren moving in with their grandchildren taking over the house, right? That is Pisces energy type, right? Like I'm open. Yeah, it's my house, it's your house. I want to help you. But it's like knowing your limitations, because in essence, in true spiritual form, Pisces energy can be open, right? But if we're here on this earthly realm, we know that people have you know, people have their vices, people have their flaws, people sometimes don't always have the people others' best interests in mind. So with Pisces, it's like you present and allow for people to kind of be what they want to be, but at the same time you want to be careful because there can be people in your family that will take advantage of that loving, kind nature. You do have people that will push you, and sometimes Pisces is that, but then they have other energy within them. So sometimes people do get surprised by the amount of confidence or the amount of, you know, defense that a Pisces person can have. That's because there's other energy in that chart, and they're not going to let you push them around for long. I like that Pisces does things without wanting a lot in return. I feel like so often people like, well, I paid for this, so you should care about me. I helped you out moving 2 years ago. You should do this for me. I think with Pisces, there's not this expectation. Like, again, Pisces, especially the spiritual ones, they're here experiencing things on a more universal level. And so what they get in return, the satisfaction they internally get, is enough for payback. So with Pisces, that's one benefit of your role sometimes within the family, is like you are the person that sometimes people trust the most, because you're not trying to get anything out of them. There is no, I'm gonna do this for you, but you better do this, or why didn't you do this for me? I did this, right? With Pisces, sometimes you kind of have that more natural, like, I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do, and I'm not expecting you to go worship me or praise me or pay me back immediately. Like, I'm just doing this because it's the right thing to do, and I'm here for you. And again, we know this is not every Pisces person. There's bad and good of every single sign in the zodiac. But that is it for this video. Thank you for watching.